Hey, welcome back. This is Cavallo from datingadviceguru.com and datingfire.com. You know, texting guys can be really confusing. You don't always know what to text them, but before you even send that message, you got to stop and ask yourself, should I text him? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Should you text him and the signals to watch for? And before we roll with the show, make sure you do the big three. Make sure you like and subscribe to the videos. Make sure you turn on notifications, that little indicator next to the subscribe button. And of course, if you have any questions or comments or things you want me to make videos about, leave those in the comments below. And of course, stick around to the end because I always leave the best for last. You know, there are definitely times in dating when you should hold back and not send that text. And that's what I want to show you today. When you should and when you shouldn't text him. If you're dating, if you're on hold, if you haven't made up yet or met up yet, or if you're just starting a relationship, or if you're already in a serious relationship, it doesn't matter how you met him. Tinder, a party, local Starbucks, you can save yourself a lot of time and effort by understanding the rules about texting and when to text. There are two primary situations where you might wonder if you should text him. Number one, he's texted you and you wonder if you should reply to him. Or number two, you're thinking of just texting him right out of the blue. You might even want to remind him that you're waiting around there, right? Let's get this thing moving. That's why you want to text him, kind of remind him that you're out there. You might also be a little hesitant that he might get weirded out from seeing a text from you. So, should you text him? Well, let's go through some rules to remember here. Rule number one is no drinky, no texty. I have to make this one a number one rule because it's so easy to drunk text. Heck, even if you text while you're just buzzed, you had just one glass of wine, you're likely to slip up and things could go very wrong. If you've had more than one drink, do yourself a favor and put down the wine glass, turn your phone off, all right? Don't text drunk. Don't even text mildly inebriated. I mean, I hope you're right there having that drink with him at the same time, honestly, but if you're not and you're just itching to text this guy, don't do it. You're coming from a place of anxiousness and it's going to show in your texts. One thing you do not want is to text him something in a moment of lowered inhibition that you might regret. Ask yourself, if I was completely sober, would I send this? So before you pop open that Zinfandel, turn off the phone. Rule number two, what's his orbit? See, guys fall into one of three orbits. One is you've never talked to him or been in person with this guy. And the second one is you've met him maybe once. And the third is you know each other at least a little bit. You got to take a moment to think about what it would be like for this guy to get a text from you from out of the clear blue sky. Will he know who you are right off the bat, or will he just see your text and phone number and get confused? If you've never actually talked to him, it'll be weird, and that's not how you want to start off a romance. And number three, if you've at least met him once and you know he's got your name and number in his phone, then you're probably okay to send a short note. That way it doesn't come up as unidentified. If you've texted him before, then it really depends on the situation, and we're going to cover that a little bit further in this video. Rule number three, when he texts you first. There are a few situations where you might get a text from him first and then wonder if you should text him back. So number one, ask yourself if this is a guy that you're really interested in. If he's not your type of guy or your instincts are saying no, then just don't send a reply, okay? If you text him back, yeah, you could be opening a can of worms. It's going to look like interest. He might not be able to take a hint, and then you'll be caught trying to, well, be nice versus telling him to go away, and that's never fun. Number two, ask yourself if this guy is available. Sometimes you get a text from a guy that you know is in a relationship or might even be married. Is this something you want to be involved in? Again, your gut should be able to tell you which situations should be avoided. And number three, are you feeling an open sense of excitement with no reason to hold back? Well, again, be careful about how quickly you feel the urge to send him a text message. Very often that impulsiveness can make you text too quickly. You don't want to appear desperate to a guy. And remember, men are very conservative when they're texting. So when a woman texts him with her long storytelling texts, her tons of emojis, really fast text responses, she'll text back really quickly, it throws him off. That kind of texting feels weird to a guy, and it's one of the ways that women accidentally overwhelm him. So be careful for that. Rule number four is under-respond to his texting. Your temptation will be to over-text to a guy, especially when it seems like he's game for a nice long flirty session of texting. Don't be fooled. At the start of a relationship, guys lack self-control when it comes to flirting and playing that enchanting suitor role, right? You may mistake all of his texting for interest in you and a possible relationship. Some of it is, but you gotta watch for that. Most of when a guy texts you, all that that stuff right off the bat, right after he meets you, is because he's jazzed about talking to you without having to risk rejection and embarrassment, right? It's an easy way. Well, it's hard for him to mess up in text, so he's going to text you way more frequently than he ever will in a relationship, which of course sets you up for false expectations because he's never going to keep that up once you are going steady. Rule number 5, is it tennis or is it dodgeball? Another signal that a woman can look for when she's wondering whether or not to text him is his response pattern. Does he text you back? Does he text you back as much as you do in the same amount, the quantity and the size of his text? Does he text with the same speed and rapidity? If you've already been texting a guy and let's say he went dark, that's when he stops responding, you would expect that he would eventually get back to you. Maybe something came up, like his phone died or he got a phone call. But if he stops responding to your texts on occasion, he may also be telling you that he's not much of a text messaging dude. Men don't text as much as women do. Women talk on an average of 818 minutes a month on the phone compared to 640 minutes per month for men. And women send out more text messages per month, 716 to the average 555 for a man. And I think that differs much differently for each age group too. Men also typically text women they're in a relationship with or starting one. Okay, that's who we typically text the most. They may text their family on the side, but that's really about it. Guys do not typically text their guy friends to chat or otherwise hold up conversations. We just don't do it. So sometimes the best thing you can do is ask him if he's an active texting kind of guy. If you get a lot of one-word replies, well, the guy is obviously not into texting. All right, rule number 6, start the clock. If you're a fairly active texter, which most women are, at least to their friends, you might be texting your girlfriends fairly frequently. And every time you pick up your phone or you send or reply to a text message, you're going to be seeing all those other people on your active roster of friends, right? These other people that are texting you. And what this does is it makes you think more about texting him than he will think about texting you, because you're constantly being reminded by your friends that your attention should be on what are they texting me? What's my texting status? Are you caught up with all your friends? Is there anybody you missed talking to today? Have you missed something juicy that a friend just sent you? The latest cat video? I don't know. And wait, what you're going to think is, oh my God, have I seen a text from him today? It simply makes more sense that if you're constantly pulling your phone out and checking it, you're going to be more aware of your texting status and the frequency of your texting. Dating tip here. One question you must ask yourself is, have I already texted him today? And the next question is, if I have texted him today, was I the one who sent the first text? You only ever need to text him one thing, okay? And that is, hey, just wanted to see how your day was going. Okay, if he goes dark for a while or doesn't respond or he hasn't texted you yet today or in a couple of days, just send him that one text. Hey, just wanted to see how your day was going. Don't get into overthinking it. Send that exactly as I just said it right there. And if he doesn't respond, don't send a follow-up, especially one that says, I just wanted to see if you got that. My phone's been acting weird. Don't try that. We all know that excuse. And here's another huge rule. Avoid being the first one to text during the first few weeks of your relationship. Why? Because you need to see if this guy has the stones to show you his interest and act on it. If he doesn't, he's not a guy you want. Men these days are getting let off the hook for their portion of the initiation of romance, right? Mostly because of a lot of mixed messages in the media about gender roles and all that. Ignore all that static. Here's another dating tip for you. Stop pursuing guys. It never works out well for either one of you. And stick with me because I got a few more things after this. Rule number 7 is, if you're getting the vibe, you're probably right. Some women can just intuitively sense when a guy is not all that into him. You just kind of smell it in his words or his texts or in the way he behaves. Just be sure that your intuition isn't really pessimism in disguise, right? Sometimes we get so conditioned by getting bad results because we don't really understand what we're doing that we start assuming that every pattern of silence in texting means he's already gone. Your default mode, if a guy doesn't ask you out or reach out after that first week of texting, is you mentally throw him in the trash. Literally, just throw him out. You toss out your hopes for this guy because, number 1, if he's into you, he will be back. Number 2, if he's busy with something, he will be back. And number 3, if you move on and he finally does get back around to you, now you're the one who seems deliciously patient and confident. In short, if you're faster to let go of these almost romances, guys that kind of almost start something, if you let these guys go, you're going to avoid a lot of that dreaded feeling of desperation and panic when a guy's communication skills don't match your own. The reason they're not is because he's just not there. He's just not into it. So really, the quicker you throw him out, the faster you can get on and find the right guy. Let me give you a bonus texting rule here. Should I text him first? Look, if you just met this guy, no, don't. Because if you really look at your motivation for wanting to text him first, it's all wrong. The likely reason you want to text him first is because you think he's either forgetting about you or he's slipping away from you. If you've been broken up for this guy and you're just worried about him moving on, it's even worse, right? Don't text the guy first. You'll just show him that you're the one who's going to do all the chasing. And hey, if you have the time, I suggest you go to the site, go to datingadviceguru.com and look at this article, because I do have more detail in it that's going to tell you, should you text a guy if you're taking a break from the relationship? And what about texting your ex? Should you text your ex-boyfriend first, or should you wait for him to text you? So what should you text him? Well, things get more complicated when you're caught up in wondering what you should text a guy, depending on the situation. If you've had a fight, you got to save your emotional communication for being in person, unless you think you were clearly in the wrong and you just want to apologize. Give him time to recover from the intensity of the fight first. Guys are deeply affected by arguments, contrary to what you might think, so he's going to need some time to settle down and come to his senses. And don't text him if you're still extremely feeling that real emotional, Texting is the worst way to communicate when it comes to important emotional moments in your relationship. You run the risk of being misinterpreted. And what do you do when he won't reply? This is probably the one scenario that probably causes women the most problems when it comes to understanding if you should text him. And it really requires you to look at what happened that led up to his radio silence. A normal interested man will text you as he feels he needs to, and that's not always going to be on your schedule of need. Now, if you want more detail, I explain a lot more about how to handle the communication with guys like this, especially in texting, in my Passion Phrases program. I really urge you to go take a look at it. In that program, I show you exactly, word for word, what to say to a guy in just about every imaginable situation, and what to say if he is trying to take a break from you. Go check it out. Go on over to the link you see below me here. That's datingfire.com/passion. That's datingfire.com/passion. And wait, before you run off to another one of my videos, that's where you were going, right? You're going to watch another one? Of course, these things are addicting. Before you do that, do the big 3. Make sure you like and subscribe to the videos. Subscribe because you want to get more. Turn on the notifications so you know when next week's comes out. And number 3, make sure you down in the questions and comments below if you have any questions for me, or if you just want a certain video, let me know down there. Hey, this is Cavallo from datingadviceguru.com. As always, live and love with passion.